Hey, welcome to Apollo City Comics. I'm Brandon,
And I am David.
and today we are talking about the first part and the only part that we're going to cover of the Earth X trilogy.
Mm.
By it's like four creators behind this whole book. It's pretty insane. Um, the concept is made by Alex Ross and Kurt Busiek, who is also the writer of the book.
Hmm.
And then I believe you have John Paul Leon, who is the artist inside of the book. Alex Ross does all the concepts and everything, but it's
Yeah,
when
the
we reviewed
character designs
Marvels
and the covers too, right?
and the covers, yeah, and there's a lot of his character designs in the back pages of this Marvel Watchmen book, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, for real too.
Yeah, but Alex was saying that it took him a year to do the 4 issues of Marvel, so he knew it'd be impossible to do 13 issues, 14 issues plus of this epic storyline that they wanted to work on. And it's crazy. This whole idea came from Wizard Magazine had approached Alex Ross asking for like a parody of what the superheroes will look like in the future.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think that's how it started with the whole Wolverine thing. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And they made this whole alternate storyline.
Yeah, so Earth X is like it's not how we know the characters. It is. It's a very DC move, I think. DC does this a lot more, right? Like I
Yeah.
guess they all do it, but
Yeah. There's a lot of Marvel versions like this too, for sure.
yeah,
But
it's
no,
true.
they're DC. I mean, the one I want to do next, which is phenomenally better than this one, is Kingdom Come, which is Marvel Alex Ross's version of the DC universe in the future.
I'm gonna be honest, Brandon. I'm not too crazy about the idea right now because this book is not very good.
Luckily, it's by a writer that's much more understanding, and they're not trying to
Okay.
recreate. I mean, I feel like this when I first got it, I read it years ago, like in 2015 or something. And it was one of the first Marvel books I got. So it was cool seeing all the characters because you see the whole Marvel universe and their
Yeah, it's a lot
fates.
of people.
Yeah, but it's a lot of people.
But you also don't really see the Marvel universe. You see like this bizarro version of it. Like a lot of the characters
Yeah,
are not them. You know what I mean? There's
yeah.
Spider-Man in this book, but
Spiders Man,
yeah,
that's his name.
yeah. I don't
I
know.
know, I know. And this is only the first part of a trilogy. There's Universe X and Paradise X after this, which I faintly remember because it's so dense.
It sounds unbearable.
It's kind of like was it like Dante's Inferno and Paradise, and it's like that type of trilogy. It goes really religious after this into like heaven and all that.
I don't know. Oh, you know what? I definitely got some religious vibes in here. There's like a big Easter story, which is really kind of
Yeah.
coincidental about the son sacrificing himself for the world and everything.
Hmm.
Um, I is this? Do people like this book? Am I like the only one who does it? Is this a hot take that this book is terrible?
I
Is
wouldn't
this like
say.
beloved?
I think the concepts are beloved, and I think the artwork is what
Okay.
makes it beloved. Like Alex Ross's artwork is what makes
Yeah.
it beloved, and I think that's what attracts me to it every single time. Is that I love seeing Alex's interpretation of the characters. I love seeing this dystopian future, but it's definitely not as exciting as I remembered it when I first read it. Now that I've read so much since then, this was a cool like, oh wow, when I hear about the Marvel universe, and now
Yeah.
that I know all these other storylines, I kind of like feel bad for recommending this one. I didn't even finish
Oof.
it. I'm just gonna let everyone know right now. I got to issue 11.
That's
I tried to
insane.
read that in like a day, and it just did not happen.
This is like Phantom Menace level bad for me. Like maybe when I was a child reading this,
Oh,
I would have been okay. But
I could
reading
see
this as
that.
an adult, it's like this is painful.
They repeat so much. There's so much you could get edited out, and this could probably be trimmed down to 8 issues. Honestly,
Yeah.
like there's so much information and
This
so much overwriting almost.
this could be trimmed down to like a Marvel What If comic book. That's how I feel about this, Brandon.
You're not far away from that at all. I wouldn't be opposed to
Right?
that at all. I'd much rather read a what if of this.
Uh, but yikes. Well, I feel
Dark.
like you should lead the conversation on this though, because the other part of this too is that it's so convoluted and confusing. I feel like I'm going to do a terrible job of explaining this. Uh, Like the premise is ridiculous, and they just kind of drop you with a bunch of people that you don't know unless you
Yeah.
know.
You
You
know,
know what I mean?
and that's like, I mean, that's why I read the Zero issue first when we first started talking about doing this episode, and that's what made me
Mm.
really excited because of one reason. One, I don't know anything about X-51 or Aaron Stack. Stack, that's his name, the
Yeah,
robot. Yeah, I know nothing about Machine Man. He has three names. First off, X-51, Aaron
yeah,
Stack, Machine Man, which is
and that
already
takes a while
ridiculous.
to maybe grasp if
Actually,
you're not familiar with him.
no, he
I
has
didn't.
four names. He's
What's the other one?
it's uh it's Mr. Machine.
Oh, that's so dumb.
Okay,
Um,
so like just to backtrack, like way hardcore right here.
okay.
And this is just from issue 0. So X-51, the machine guy, he was created in the 2001 A Space Odyssey series that Marvel made. That was created because when Jack Kirby, he had left Marvel, went to DC, and when he was going back to Marvel, part of his contract that he wanted to do was a 2001 A Space Odyssey adaptation. And they ended up connecting it to the Marvel Universe in those 10 issues. So that's where, and he wanted to name him Mr. Machine, but I mean, it's a Jack Kirby creation who also created Mr. Miracle, and stuff was like too convoluted and all that. So they changed it to the other three names he now has.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's from that, and that's where the monolith comes from. I don't know if you noticed that, but the big black square thing, that's the monolith from 2001.
From 2001 Space Odyssey. Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and no, you won't know that. Even if you read issue 0, you're going to be like, what's with this thing? Unless you know that origin. And 2001 A Space Odyssey, when I was first getting back into comics, I saw the set at my comic book shop, and I was like, I didn't know there was a comic book adaptation. And it's by Jack Kirby, one of my favorite creators, the god who created all of these characters. I didn't know he did this adaptation. And I've always wanted it. And actually, my girlfriend got it for me for my birthday, and I just got it in the mail yesterday. So I'm super
awesome.
hyped to check that out. Yeah, total accomplishment there. But that's why I was excited to read this series.
Okay.
Was just because of that 0 issue, and just because I've read it before, and I like that dystopian look to everything. And it connects, since we read Marvels, we know about Namor, we know about some of this other stuff, and I know it led more into the Celestials and the Eternals as well, which is something we're going to touch base on later on. But dude, this was so dense, like overly dense. Like you are just as confused. Like
it's just not good. That's the problem. It's just not good.
Yeah,
it's exactly like Star Wars Episode 1. It's like I don't know, what are these trade federations? Why does any of this matter?
Yeah,
why is this story so bloated? I don't understand. Who thought this was a good idea?
I would have rather seen how the world changed than this.
Yeah, and then the other big thing too is when we were talking about this, we were talking about this more as like this is like an infection story, like some kind of outbreak that's going on, which is really just this tiny part of the story that ultimately doesn't really even matter much. You know what I mean? Like imagine if people weren't mutated, it would still be the same thing. The story would go the same way.
Oh yeah, totally, completely, right? Yeah,
and it's like Red Skull's power that's important. It's not
the Terrigen Mist, yeah. And that's what I remembered from it when I first read was, it's something with the Inhumans, and there's something that changes all of humanity because it's it's like something that just transforms them genetically, And I was like, oh, it's perfect. But no, this was totally different from whatever. And I probably could have finished reading this in one day, but my first like 4 or 5 issues took me so long to get through, and I just had to try to rush the rest. I was not ready. But I don't know. There's parts that do catch my interest, but there's so much that doesn't. Like I like the concepts. We look at Mr. Fantastic wearing Dr. Doom's armor. That's cool. I like seeing the half Namor in flames,
half Human Torch thing.
Yeah, and that's cool because he's half human, half underwater, but now he's half flames and half water. So there's some cool contrast to that. I love seeing Captain America with the carved-in A on his head and just wearing the American flag. I don't know. I thought Thor was kind of dumb. His punishment for not being humble enough was to become a woman.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Yeah.
That was really, really weird.
Yeah.
And then you also have like fat old Spider-Man who's kind of broken. And then his daughter is married to Venom is how she says it.
Yeah.
She's really just controlled by Venom, I guess.
Yeah, they just have a bond, essentially.
Yeah.
Like Venom. It's like the bond between Eddie and Venom.
Yeah.
It's that type of thing. And I think the reason why I first picked up this book was because of the Spider Girl character. Because I remember that skin was in the Spider-Man 2 game. Electro
Oh,
something. Yeah, and that's a skin in
yeah.
it.
Electro's Rampage or something
Yeah,
like that.
Revenge or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, and I remember seeing that and I was like, man, where did that come from? Earth X, and it sounds so awesome. And then you see the artwork and you're just like, whoa. But
Yeah.
it just wasn't. Daredevil, I thought was dumb.
Daredevil's really dumb. Yeah, what they do to Daredevil in this book is so dumb.
It doesn't.
And who is he? He's not Matt Murdock.
He's not Matt Murdock and he's not Ghost Rider, but he's like just a guy that can't die. It's a mutation, I guess. I have
because everyone is mutated.
I have the
and because everyone's mutated now, everybody's got like an X-Men style power.
Yes.
So I mean, ironically, the X-Men are like the only people who aren't really mutated. Like the people who already have some kind of mutation, all seem to be normal.
Yeah, I even got the companion for Earth X, the trilogy, and it's nothing but Alex Ross stuff, which is great.
Oh, that's cool.
Let's see. Who is Daredevil? Some have thought his bike suggests Johnny Blaze, the original Ghost Rider, but Blaze has long ago exorcised the demons that haunted him. Others say Deadpool, whose ability to reanimate his own lifeless corpse suggests the new Daredevil's inability to be killed. Others say he's Mr. Immortals. Others suggest Night Raven. It doesn't say. No one knows for certain who Immortal is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Deadpool kind of makes sense because of all his dumb jokes and him dying.
I'd buy that.
You're also telling me Deadpool doesn't have like guns?
Oh, there you go.
You know what I mean? That just seems weird.
Well, right now the series Marvel X, it's on issue 3, and who knows when issue 4 is going to come out. That's the story we want to read. Is how, well, not even that, because it picks up when all this starts happening, and the kid, the main character, he's the last human. And everyone else, they're still heroes. Daredevil's still around. You could tell Spidey's becoming a bit more doubtful and angry and whatnot.
So it's like a prequel to this book that they're writing right now.
Yeah. Kraven looks cool because Kraven mutated, and he's like he has like a lion's head and everything.
Yeah.
So that's
kind of cool.
Yeah,
and they do that with Black Panther too. Black Panther like turns into a literal panther.
Yeah, and that's cool.
Which also how does this mutation work? It just turns you into something you really like. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't at all, because you're right.
Shouldn't Black Panther have just as much a chance of being like a giant squid?
Yeah. Because, I mean, his people, like, did you see the people? Some of them are like zebras and everything.
There's like elephant men and stuff. Well, they said that was nature. They said that nature was also changing. Oh. So I assumed that they meant that, like, the animals were all different too. I don't know, man. I honestly don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
And it's, what's terrible about my predicament and how stubborn I am is that I'm so invested into this story because I've read all of it already.
Yeah.
I'm going to read all the prequels and everything that comes out just because I have to know. And I've read this much. And I've read like 5 volumes of this. And I'm not going to say...
That's really gross, Brandon.
I'm not going to say it gets better, but it's... I mean, it has some cool concepts. Like, when they're all in heaven and everything, all of them have like wings and they have to do some crazy cosmic stuff it was cool learning about the characters.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I think that's what it was. When you're just that young and you have that many characters of the universe just in front of you, you're just like, whoa. But then you take a step back a few years later after you've been writing yourself and analyzing stuff more. You're like, what happened, guys?
Yeah, man. I would say, like, time is the only thing we don't get more of in life.
Yeah.
Do you need to spend the time reading this? I don't know. Before Watchmen was more enjoyable for me. I'm just being honest.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
And before Watchmen's bad.
I wouldn't go that far.
Before Watchmen at least knows it's schlock. This book doesn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
This book is like, we're being so imaginative. This is a lot like that script you sent us.
Oh, from that kid? Oh my God.
Brandon's got this guy in his class. I hope he doesn't hear this somehow. Brandon's in a creative writing class, and this guy just wrote this script that is just so like...
What is going on? Yeah. It's a lot like this book. You're totally right. Scenes change without any... So much so that the writing is like, oh, now we're here. How are we here? Just sit and watch and wait. Oh, but I don't know what's going on. Just watch. And then you're just like, I still don't know what's going on, dude. Like,
yeah.
What we've realized in this book is that the watcher is a jerk.
That's true. The
That's
Watcher is
what
a
I
jerk.
got out of it. That's like all I got out of this book.
He's like hanging in the back, all creepy and everything. Well, we need to go through the book, Brandon, don't we?
Yeah.
Isn't that how the show works?
Well, let's tear through it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I read the Zero issue because it's in the graphic novel I own.
Okay. And I didn't read the Zero issue, so to be fair, that's like that and the half issue. I didn't. Those are the two things I didn't read.
The half issue, just so the audience knows, is just about Nick Fury, and it talks about the change of what happened and how there's always war, and it's about Nick Fury. Basically, his bots, they kind of just, nobody knows where Nick Fury's is or how he died, but his bots are everywhere. The Zero issue is what introduces you to X-51 and introduces you to how the monolith pops up and takes them to the moon and fast forwards time 20 years, and he winds up in front of the Watcher. And the Watcher gives him a brief history of the world, about how first there was like man and like ape, and then basically the seeds were set, the Kree and everyone once lived here, that was wiped out by Celestials, how man continued and evolved, and essentially talks a lot about the World War II stuff with kind of what we saw in Marvels with Namor and Captain America and all that, and the Human Torch. And then it talks about the seed was basically germinated and it came back, because of cosmic rays for the Fantastic Four, the Gamma Bomb for the Hulk and stuff like that. It also talks about what's cool. It touches base more of it in the comic, but Namor and like why he kept on fighting America. I thought that was cool because I didn't know why. And you're kind of lost in Marvels on why he keeps attacking the world. But in this comic, it tells you. And then it talks about just kind of brief history of the Marvel universe, of Galactus and everything. And you find out that the Watcher's blind, and he's chosen X-51 to become the new Watcher. So honestly, issue 0 is the coolest issue.
Oh man,
this whole series.
Oh man. Okay, well I should have skipped that one.
But we pick up in issue 1, and honestly, if you don't read issue 0, I could see how issue 1 is confusing right off the bat.
Yeah,
it
definitely
starts with a voice.
Yeah, it starts with a voice. So like the whole narration is between X-51, and every issue starts with kind of like a summary of whatever the main hero of that book is going to be. Mm-hmm. So the first issue is like Captain America's story.
Yeah.
And I mean, people still show up. It's not just Captain America for the first book, but that's more or less how like every book is laid out.
Yeah. They kind of center around one.
And then, here's the issue.
Which I think that was a big enjoyment when I first read it, was seeing that history aspect.
Yeah, that part is cool.
Probably the funnest part of every issue is that history part, is that, oh, cool, I get to know more about this character, and it introduces you to stuff. But I don't care at this point because I know who Captain America is.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. And
if this is the first time you're reading, you're never going to want to read another comic book again anyway. You know what I mean? Or you're going to be like, why would I want to read? This is so unenjoyable. Why would I want to keep reading this?
It does. Well, the Hydra stuff was cool. I wish they could have done more with the Hydra stuff.
And the Hydra thing in particular, that's like where Cap starts off. He's all tattered, like you were saying. And he's basically fighting this, well, it looks like a Hydra.
Yeah. And it's actually She-Hulk who is Queen Hydra right now.
Yeah. And basically all these people are being kind of like brainwashed to join this hive mind.
To give up and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you come across Cyclops, who he kind of comes out of the shadows and saves somebody from Hydra. And then the kid he saves just blows fire at him and runs off. And it's just like, oh, wow, like he misses Professor X and everything he could have taught him. You run into Porky Spider over here, Spider-Ham, essentially.
Yeah. Well, and let's just back up real quick, because this is actually one of the things that I'm having a big gripe about. Like, Cyclops is here, but then that's it. He doesn't help anything else out. He shoots that one thing.
That's it.
And then he just leaves.
Yeah.
Why did he even get involved? Just for this kid? Why not help Captain America? Like, what? I don't get that part at all. No,
you're totally right.
Yeah.
Well, even so, Luke Cage is just standing around.
Is Luke Cage standing there? See, and this is another confusing part too. I'm like, are Luke Cage and Spider-Man in a different neighborhood in the same city?
Well, they talk about the Purge, so I figured it's the same neighborhood, same city, and everything. Yeah, because dude, look at that panel where you see Spider-Man. There's the Hydra people in the background.
No, those are just like people walking, aren't they?
No, but look at the one right next to Spidey's face.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So some people are just walking around, and then Captain America's just fighting everyone in the middle of this.
And it seems like casual business as usual.
Yeah, in the background, there's just average people.
And Cap just seems delusional at that point. Like, if he's the only one fighting and doing this, he's the maniac, you know?
Yeah.
He's the outcast at that point. Which, him and Red Wing, I don't even know who Red Wing is.
I don't know either.
Wyatt Wingfoot, yeah, I'm sorry.
And then Luke Cage is a cop who really doesn't do much in the story. Spider-Man's there, and he's like, no, I'm not going to join the cops. I don't want to be a cop anymore.
He's all washed up.
Or I don't want to be a cop.
Yeah,
he's all washed up. Mary Jane's dead, of course.
Of course.
And then you see a Spider-Man off in the distance, like on a flagpole, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But Peter's right here. Who's this schmo? But you learn later.
And then you turn the page, and I think this is a cool concept. The Iron Avengers, and how all the Avengers are essentially dead or thought to be dead, and Tony Stark recreated them to like keep them fighting.
They're like robots.
That's just I just think that's a really depressing, dark way to look at Tony Stark's future. You know, like he lost everyone, and now he's just trying to build them and keep them in his life.
Tony Stark's whole story is very sad in this book.
I love his look. I love how he's bald and has like the long gray beard, looking all wizardry kind of.
Although, well, I mean, I'll just get into it. Who cares? It's just like Tony Stark's whole story in this is that he makes these Avengers who are going to get killed later by Red Skull.
Yeah.
And then Tony makes a giant Iron Man suit again, and like towards the end of the book, and is like, "This is it. This is my life. This is the testament to the success of my life." And then he dies.
Yeah, that's it.
But then it's also like, okay, what is his contribution to the story? Like, what events did Tony Stark change throughout Earth X?
I want to say close to nothing.
Close to nothing. I mean, it looks really cool.
Yeah. But that's about it.
That's about it. That's more or less.
That's about it.
That's like my thoughts on this book. It looks pretty cool. Anyway, let's continue.
No, you're right. Well, and then, we go into the Punisher skull thing. They see the red skull, and they say, it looks like the Punisher's old insignia. And he's like, it's not. It's a skull. It's a red skull. And I was like, it'd been cooler if they went more in a Punisher. I see why they get the red skull, but I feel like that was a lazy cop out.
Me too. I'm wondering, like, okay, why does it look like the Punisher skull? That part is confusing.
Yeah, why did the kid choose it? And the Punisher's in New York mainly. Why is this kid in California using it? Yeah, as his new thing? I don't know.
Because it's obviously the Punisher skull, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it right above Brandon's head. That's the logo we're talking about.
Yeah. If I upload the video, I might not.
You know what? What's up with what's up with the Punisher? How come he never gets any love in any of these books?
I think in that half issue, I might have it over here. It explains what happens to him.
But I just mean in general, like whenever they have a big collection of people, Punisher's never there. But I guess it's because maybe he's too violent. He doesn't mix with everyone else.
Yeah, I would say that. And it's like a mature reading book in that sense. I forgot. Actually, this half issue, it's super short. You should check it out because it tells you the fates of some people.
Okay. Well, that's kind of interesting.
It tells you, where is it? Oh yeah, most people didn't even know what happened to Frank Castle. That's his shirt you're wearing, kid. And he's talking to Nick Fury's talking to Red Skull. The Punisher committed suicide after accidentally killing a family in one of his man-on-war crimes. He was another old soldier. He even once thought he'd kill me. But yeah, he killed himself.
Oh.
Yeah, after killing a family. And then it also says that Matt Murdock, the original Daredevil, he died at the hands of Elektra. And that's all they say about it.
I just, man, I don't know. Like, why isn't any of this in the story? The Punisher thing's okay, but the Daredevil thing is like, what? You're not
Yeah,
even
like
telling him,
how?
Matt.
Like why is he fighting Elektra again and doing all that? Like
Yeah.
what's up with that? It's another one of those big things I gripe about with Marvel is that you have to read all these additional things just to read the main story. I just want to read the
Yeah.
main story, you know? I mean, it's cool if you know all these tie-ins. They're fun, if you're really interested in the story. But just put it in, like, it's not even in the collected edition that I have. And this is issue 0 through 13.
Okay.
Like in this companion that I have for this book, which explains all the characters, which, I mean, it's just
That's
Alex Ross's concepts, Yeah, it's one of those things. Just give me a story. And at the end of every book, there is the Watchmen little book that you could read that gives you more information on everyone. The prose.
Yeah. Yeah, they do very.
Which honestly, they explain
Watchmen-esque.
more in the prose than they do that entire issue.
Yeah, they do. I read the first one, and then after that, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to read this.
They
This is very.
they do get better, but it is. I actually enjoyed reading the prose more than the comic.
Yeah.
Because it just lets you know the fate of some characters and what happened to a lot of the characters. And I think that's what I was really interested in. Just looking at the fates, what's going to happen, what they turned into. And after that, it's like you guys don't have a solid story behind it.
No, I wouldn't say so either. Well, let's move on to issue 2. Issue 2 is like the Fantastic Four issue for the first half.
Oh, yeah.
Where we find out that Namor has killed Johnny Storm.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Namor's just a jerk who likes that guy. And then Sue dies also. Mm-hmm. Doctor Doom blows up Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Doom. Yeah, they both blow up.
That's insane.
So then it's just cool. It's just Reed Richards, who ends up looking like Alan Moore.
Yeah. And
then the Thing. And the Thing's got some Thing kids with some weird-looking woman with lights in her eyes.
She's in Marvels.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah. When they went to that exhibit and it was all the clay figures of the Avengers?
Oh, yeah.
She's the one that made those. She's blind, okay. And she's always, worked with her hands and everything. So she's really great at clay and clay making. Although, all right. I mean, how is she making those clay figures in that much detail of all the Avengers when she's blind?
That's the point, man. That's the magic. That's her superpower.
Well, now she can. But Marvels, yeah. I guess
she's got the Daredevil power, but only with clay.
And here it's cool because her clay figures come to life. So that's why she's made one of the Hulk and stuff like that.
Yeah, so and that's the whole thing in this book. There's a bunch of these clay versions of heroes.
Mm-hmm. Filling in, kind of.
Yeah.
Sort of. I know. Let's go past that. And
then we get this Daredevil circus thing.
Yeah, which I just really wasn't sold on. I thought this was and it turns out to be, but it's like the new X-Men. But it's how do you have a circus of freaks when everyone is like this?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
And then
why are they even shocked that you can't kill this guy when everyone has some sort of power?
Some kind of power.
And
that's his whole thing. He runs a circus where people try and kill him, and he takes their money.
Yeah, essentially.
And that's it.
That's it. And then you got the Watchmen prose at the end. And then you have the Namor part. And actually in issue 3, I thought that was cool because this explains a lot of what we were questioning in Marvels. Where did Namor disappear to? Why is he suddenly coming back and fighting for no reason?
Yeah.
This first 3 pages is really awesome because of that. Honestly, the first 4 pages of every book and the last 3 pages of every book is all you should read. Just get the comic.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, that would be more enjoyable for sure. Namor is a hybrid, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, his mind is not stable. And they say that he has dementia.
Mm-hmm.
Which...
Oh, from being out of water too long or on land too long.
Yeah.
It starts messing with him because it creates a chemical imbalance in his body. Which I thought that was a cool explanation.
Yeah. Oh, that is pretty cool. Yeah, so then we get this introduction about Namor, and then we go to what is next? I can't even tell what's going on here.
This is the Inhuman stuff, and I think we'll just touch on
Yeah.
all the Inhuman stuff at once towards the end. Even though it's like a part of the main storyline, you could sum it all up in like 3 sentences.
Well, I almost feel like we should just sum up all this book like a character at a time because it's so disconnected anyways.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we talk about Red Skull, because he's who shows up next. So what's up with Red Skull?
So Red Skull, he's the kid who gets, once they activate the Terrigen Mist across the planet, he gets an ability to, he's telepathic. And when he gets the ability, all the other telepathics die, because I guess his is so strong. Everyone just died for some reason, like Professor X, Jean Grey, everyone. And he has the ability just to kind of control everyone and everyone's minds. And he's a kid. So he just kind of uses them for his own amusement, and he starts slowly taking over the world. And somehow he goes from California to New York in like an instant. And you don't really, they don't stop it till it gets to New York, which I thought was ridiculous too.
There's also, I mean, this is kind of like a Twilight Zone episode. There's an old school Twilight Zone episode about this kid who can kill people with their minds, and he can read their thoughts. So everyone in this town has to play along and do whatever he says. Where this kid will like make your head explode.
Yeah.
Great Twilight Zone episode.
It is a good one. We should just cover that.
Yeah. And in this book, Red Skull, he's an angsty teen who basically takes over a bunch of superheroes. And then Captain America, his whole plot in this book is basically just like traveling around and gathering together leaders from all over the world to fight Red Skull.
Yeah.
And I know I've already been bashing on this book a whole bunch, but Red Skull in this book is like the cringiest villain that I've ever read.
Every line that he has, I hated. And there's not a lot of them, but there's enough to hate him.
Yeah. And it just, everything comes off as just like a whiny little brat. And not to just keep going back to Star Wars, but it's like a Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker situation going on.
I didn't see the point in making him a kid. Why did you? Or maybe I'm just overthinking it.
Was he supposed to be Bucky? Was he supposed to be like
a representation?
Because Cap lost that kid, and here's another kid. I guess. I don't know, man.
You know, I will say something that it might be a homage to an Alan Moore thing. Is that when Cap kills, spoilers if you get that far in the book, when Cap kills Red Skull, he goes behind him and just snaps his neck. That happens in a Miracle Man when he fights like one of the villains. Since it's like a Shazam-esque thing. There was a kid Miracle Man, and this just a quick premise: when Miracle Man disappears, it's because of a nuclear explosion, and he's with Kid Miracle Man. And when Miracle Man lands on the ground, he goes back to his regular form, and he doesn't remember having the powers of Miracle Man, so he doesn't know the word to say to transform. Kid Miracle Man, however, did not transform back. He just grew older in that form. And he ends up becoming the villain of the series. And Kid Miracle Man is destroying everything. It's one of the goriest things I've seen in comics. It's insanely horrific.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's super awesome. And Miracle Man has to break his neck to stop him. And it's just one of those moments where he's just holding a kid and he just snaps his neck. And it's just terrible because it's a kid, essentially, that he just killed. And it's the same thing that happens here. And also in Justice League Gods and Monsters, which is an Elseworlds animated movie, there's like a Mexican Superman. And Brainiac is like he's just a kid and he can't control his powers and he's destroying Metropolis and he's crying and he doesn't know how to stop. And so this version of Superman, he just walks up to Brainiac and he holds the kid and he's like, I'm going to make it stop. And he just snaps the kid's neck. So it's like one of those villain death tropes that they use a lot, but I always think it's a cool way it's dark. It's just one of those things. It's just real dark.
Yeah. Killing a kid. It's always dark.
Hey, Rascal. Sorry, my Chihuahua's hanging out with me. But that's everything about Red Skull.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to touch on, because this threw me off, he has like a Spider-Man with him.
Oh, yeah.
Spiders Man. And who is this? Is this explained either?
No. It isn't. And I was confused until I did. Even when I first read it, I was like, who is this Spiders Man? It wasn't until like now I'm older and I did research on it. He is just a guy that
who got a new power, I'm
who
guessing,
got
right?
a new power.
Okay.
And he's like
he
a
has
mix of the lizard. He kind of looks like the lizard, you know what I mean?
Yeah, with the cloak and everything.
Yeah.
And he's also
just like his skin, that reptilian skin.
Oh yeah. And he's got it's like a hallucinogenic web or something. Like it like trips people out when it touches them.
It's like Mysterio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even like a little bit of Miles Morales, really, in a weird way. Because he has all that like poison stuff, you know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
It seems
nothing
like some
about
kind
Miles,
of like
sorry.
It seems like a venom of some kind, but the venom is in like spider, not as in like the character Venom.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's something that threw me off reading it the first time. I never understood what the concept of this Spiders Man was. Like, again, it's a cool idea. It's a cool concept. They just didn't execute it in the story well at all, you know?
Well, let's talk about Spider-Man in this case then. Spider-Man's story in the story arc, which is really small. His daughter, May, has taken up the mantle. He's hung up in hopes of being a superhero. He's old and out of shape now. And she is one with Venom.
Yeah.
So she's like the new Spider-Man, but also the new Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, she goes to fight too. And she's losing. She gets taken over by Red Skull during the big fight with Red Skull.
Mm-hmm.
And Spider-Man ends up showing up with like this, it's like a t-shirt. It's like a Spider-Man t-shirt.
Yeah.
You could tell it was sold as like some kind of merch, you know what I mean? But that's all he has. And he shows up and, you know,
Spider-Man's it. Yeah.
We'll make a bunch of jokes at Spider-Man, which is funny.
And there's even a joke about saying, did he get bit by a radioactive
spare
tire or something like that? Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, it was one. And I mean, I think, again, they went with that wizard idea, the parody, and having a chunky Spider-Man that's all like retired and everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, it might have worked for that wizard special, but stop it.
I just don't see if Spider-Man would even gain weight. It just doesn't seem likely.
I don't even think Spider-Man would go in that direction.
I don't see it either.
You know, this is one that I've always wanted to read on the channel. We've talked about it briefly, but Spider-Man Reign.
Yeah.
It's a 4-part series. It's like the Dark Knight of Spider-Man. And it's, you know, even then he's an old man. He's a skinny little old man because of his powers and the radioactive blood he has, you know? And so there's some explanation, but yeah, I don't get the whole chunky. It just doesn't work, guys.
I don't think it works. It doesn't work for me either. Okay, who else do we got? Oh, we have Scott Summers, who is all by himself now.
Yeah, he's real washed up.
He's like the last of the X-Men, and he misses the professor, and he wants to follow in his footsteps, really. He wants to honor the professor and basically finds those circus freaks and makes them the new X-Men.
Yeah.
And then they fight together, and then at the end of the book, you know, they stay there, and they're like, we're the X-Men now.
Yeah, and they do continue that in Universe X, the sequel to this.
But they don't call him the Professor. They call him Mr. S.
Yeah, which reminds me of Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, I guess it's true.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's a cool little...
We even get a little bit of Havoc in this book, too. There's like a couple other X-Men appearances. And then, of course, there's a bunch of time jumping in this book, too, where we, like, go to different moments of these characters, and it reminds me a lot, actually, of, have you ever seen It's a Wonderful Life?
Oh, no, I haven't.
You've never seen It's a Wonderful Life? Oh, my gosh. Well, it's like a Christmas movie about George Bailey, and he's thinking about killing himself.
Yeah.
And his guardian angel is watching down from heaven, and they're trying to explain George Bailey's life. So then I guess it's God, or it's like a higher ranking angel. The whole movie starts off with like flashbacks of George's life, and he'll be talking, oh, well, see, Clarence, see, there's George. There's your George there. And he's going off to war now. And then it'll jump around. Oh, Clarence, here's George's little kid. See him? That's his little brother, too. And that's how like everything in this book is.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, hey, X-51. Oh, here's Wolverine now. This was years ago.
Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean by that.
New York, X-51. It's like a weird, like they're looking inside a snow globe or something. And they're like, oh, there he is.
It's a cool thing if you're going to maybe tell an issue story about that character.
Yeah.
And then you have it all in like one story overarching, but you get all these small stories in between it. I would have rather had 13 issues of individual stories with one arc that connects them all at the 13th issue.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Than whatever they did here.
Yeah, because it's like kind of that idea, but
Yeah,
they
it's
bounce
just
around a lot more.
they bounce around a lot more, and you lose track. Dude, I lost track a few
Yeah,
times, and reading all this at once, it's just a blur.
it really is. But then, so who are we talking about? We're talking about. Oh yeah, so that's more or less the. Oh well, that's what I was mentioning. The Wolverine. We get the fat Wolverine and like
Oh
a
yeah,
fat Jean Grey who decided to stick with Wolverine. And Wolverine even makes a reference like, I can't get fat because of my healing
yeah,
factor, and I can't get drunk either. It's like, well, he seems to be doing a pretty good job.
yeah, both. Yeah,
Yeah, but,
and you're just like, what happened to Jean, and why isn't she with Cyclops? You know, and you find
yeah.
out later that Jean Grey did die, and it's actually Madeline Pryor, that's from X-Men. What am I thinking of? When Jean Grey dies and becomes the Phoenix.
Oh, Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix. There you go. Yeah, she's from around that storyline. I don't know if you knew who Madeline Pryor was or anything.
No, I was familiar with Madeline Pryor.
Yeah, she's like a clone or something of Jean Grey.
Oh, okay. Well,
which is why she didn't die. She wasn't. Yeah, I know, it's one of those things.
Clones go over so well at Marvel.
The Hulk. I thought the Hulk concept was kind of interesting.
Yeah, the whole concept is pretty interesting.
His the blood kind of evolved as well, and because of the radiation and everything, and the Hulk is mindless, but Bruce Banner is now a child and he can't see. He can only see through the Hulk, and he controls the Hulk's actions. And I was like, oh, that's a cool concept, like a kid on top of the Hulk. I thought that was, again, a cool looking idea on when Alex Ross drew it, but
maybe not practice.
Yeah.
We get a couple other small characters. Black Panther, who's like married to Storm. Storm is his queen.
Yeah, and that's like a legit thing in the comics.
Yeah, and then Black Panther is literally a panther.
Yeah, and Hank McCoy from the X-Men's there too.
Yeah, that's right. So there are a few more X-Men. There's the connection there. They end up going and helping Captain America, of course. Captain Britain, who is now King Britain.
Yeah, and then the Grey Gargoyle, like, I guess, froze his companions, and he doesn't know if he should save them because it might kill them, or if he should just leave them as be.
Yeah.
What's his face is running Russia.
Colossus.
Colossus, yeah, and he has a mustache.
Yeah, Colossus's mustache is super cool.
Yeah, it looks like Stalin practically, dude.
Yeah, and then that's more or less everything that kind of gets tied up in that Captain America storyline.
Oh, there's the Stephen Strange thing.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so his astral form is dead, but his physical body is like trapped in a spell. And his predecessor, I guess they were lovers. She kind of just trapped him there because she was actually in love with Loki. And I remember I kind of got lost on that part too.
Well, Loki shows up too with the Thor fight with Lady Thor.
Yeah.
Who is really
the
not
Thor
Lady
thing was
Thor.
Just, I don't know. Yeah, I was really...
It just seems like, why are we even making Thor a woman? If you're not even going to make it her own character.
Yeah, like, why do it? Like, I thought when I picked it back up, I was like, man, maybe that's where they got the whole Jane Foster thing from,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too when I got in there.
And then I read the bio and I was like, oh, this is sad. This is really... There's the Iron Maiden too.
Oh yeah,
that they
Iron
made
Maiden.
3 jokes about in her first panel, which was annoying. Like, you don't need to say like, "Oh, that was my favorite band" and all this stuff. Like, guys, we get it.
Too much.
It
was funny. They made a Joker reference. They made like a Batman reference.
Yeah, about her falling in the vat, and they named Jack Nicholson and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I guess the big one that we're missing right now is the Fantastic Four arc. Because Mr. Fantastic is looking for the Inhumans.
Yes. Well, he wasn't looking for the Inhumans, was he?
Yeah, that's what he was going to go use Cerebro for, to find the difference.
Oh, because Inhumans found him.
Yeah,
Mr.
but that's what he was trying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is another part that's just was like, what? Like he goes to the ruins of the X Mansion to use Cerebro, and then thing is like, how are you even going to use this thing? I thought only telepaths can use it. Or he says like, I forgot what word he uses. Psychics can use it. And he's like, he's not a psychic, he's a telepath or whatever. But then Reed Richards says that he stretches his brain to match Professor X's brain so that he can use Cerebro?
So it can open up to psychic or telepathic abilities.
Yeah, but how does he even know what that is? Like, how does he know how to mimic Professor X's brain or to manipulate it enough?
Oh, they had a map of it.
They had
say
a map
that
of
they
his,
had
okay, they did say that?
Yeah, they did say that, yeah. But even then, no, like that part, is explained.
Yeah.
But even then, okay, Reed Richards, like, how have you not used this power then?
Yeah.
Like,
if you could just change your brain to take whatever power you want,
why are you just stretching all the time? You know what I mean? Like, or
that doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
big problem with that one. But and this part was really confusing too. So like basically Galactus shows up towards the end when
we haven't talked about the Inhumans at all.
Oh, well, let's go into the Inhumans next.
Yeah.
Before we
so the Inhumans disappeared for about 20 years. There was a final battle between Black Bolt and his brother, and that's how the Inhumans are introduced too, in like the original Fantastic Four comics. And so they're fighting, and it turns out that I forget his name all the time, but Black Bolt's brother, he was going to unleash the Terrigen Mist that give everyone their powers essentially, for the Inhumans. He releases the Terrigen Mist, and it's going to be like a bomb so that everyone in the world gets it. And it seems like the Inhumans are trying to stop it, and they have a battle. Lockjaw, the dog, dies, and he's the one that can transport them and everything, which I thought it's super sad. Super sad. Because it just has like his horn that he uses to like teleport. And I thought that was crazy. Donny Cates did that later on recently. So that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
But, and it turns out that they defeat Black Bolt's brother, but Black Bolt unleashes the Terrigen Mist, and then they leave for 20 years. He just kind of does it. I mean, Black Bolt can't talk, but he literally just stays silent about this for years. And it's revealed. And, what was really annoying for me in this whole thing is that they focus so much on Iron Man can't figure this out. Mr. Fantastic can't figure it out. And the whole, they're trying to pull a mystery off when it's not really like a mystery or like a whodunit type of thing. It's like they just didn't see the whole picture.
And that's very much what it feels like for sure. Like they're kind of hinting at there being some kind of mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And Black Bolt dies in this book, right? He's the one who sacrifices himself.
Yeah. I thought Black Bolt's design is one of the coolest, with those super long, epic wings and everything.
Those are cool. And when he dies, it's a really cool page too.
Yeah, the way he's all broken up and everything. Yeah, I thought that's one of my favorite parts. I mean, I thought that was cool. And it's a cool introduction. If you don't know anything about the Inhumans, if you don't know what the Terrigen Mists are, any of that, it's like now you know. It's a lot of information on that part. So I thought that is a cool thing about it as well. What else about the Inhumans? It's kind of it. Oh, their daughter is going to get married, but that doesn't happen, huh?
I don't think so.
No, it all stops. But she's transforming because she hadn't been exposed to the mist before. So when she gets to Earth, she starts like changing and everything as well. We also briefly see Adam Warlock. Do you remember that?
I don't even remember that.
That's in one of the first issues. And he's just like, he's not introduced. It's when the Inhumans come to Earth, and then they're like, oh, we need to go find the Fantastic Four. And they go to Ben Grimm's apartment, and it's Adam Warlock and her, because they were called him and her in the 70s before they were named. But like Adam Warlock just pops up for like 2 panels. And you're just like, if you didn't know that was Adam Warlock, there's no way you would have got that. Yeah. And there's also Norman Osborn. There's no
Who's the president.
Yeah. And there's no White House. There's no Congress. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
It's this guy that owns corporations that now is the president of the United States. And he's a villain, and everyone knows he's a villain, and somehow he still became president.
Yeah.
I wonder how that
happens in every comic book. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Lex Luthor's president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the Donald Trump of the story.
He's very much, he's the Trump or Luthor of Marvel.
Mm-hmm. And it's, this was kind of cool. I like seeing, again, concept on paper was cool, but the Vulture, how his face is like now transformed and stuff like that. I thought that was already awesome. Norman Osborn, he's actually wearing a mask
that was cool too.
for skin. and he takes it off. They take it off, and it's the goblin face.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so
that's right.
cool.
That's right.
Mhm.
And that part's cool too.
Yeah, but you know what? All the
But,
parts that are
yeah,
cool.
man.
I know. All the parts that are cool are the concepts of the drawings.
It's a nice book to look at, and the covers are really nice. I mean, Alex Ross knocked the covers out.
So what they did with the covers is that he drew this giant painting essentially, and they broke it up into 13 parts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's what's behind you, I'm assuming.
Yep.
There it is.
There it is.
It does
I'll
look
probably
good.
post this up on the Instagram or with the
You
video
should.
itself. Well, and all of this is honestly the first 10 issues is backstory.
Yeah, it's a lot of setup. It's all these parts that we're talking about. Like you might read like 2 pages of Spider-Man's story, and then you don't see him for like an issue,
Yeah.
and then you get another like page of Spider-Man.
Mhm.
So that's how this whole thing's been going this whole time. But the last 2 issues or so are really focused because it comes into a whole thing with the Celestials. Am I saying that right? Or is it Eternals? Which one is it?
The Celestials.
The Celestials. There we go.
Yeah.
There's so many
the Eternals.
names of peoples.
Yeah. The Eternals are, whoa, this did something weird. Okay. The Eternals are the ones that got trapped in a planet and they're now frozen in vibranium.
Yes.
And they were also the first like beings on the planet. They were like the first gods ever.
Mm.
Yeah. And apparently they abandoned the planet, and the Deviants, that's like the villain version of the Celestials, they didn't want to come back and stop them, but they just went on space because they just didn't care about the human race. But that's why they kind of never came back. But they are good guys. It's a big convoluted history. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. And then, okay, so, and you might have to help me through this a little bit too. Because basically, the whole time it seems like the Red Skull thing is the big deal. And then it's just done.
You know, the Red Skull thing doesn't even matter in the big scope.
No,
That's
it has
what's
nothing to do
disappointing.
with the big story going on.
No.
It's like they just had a secondary thing when really it's the gas that's the biggest issue.
Yeah. Well, really the biggest thing is that the Earth's core has vibranium in it.
Yeah.
And back, I guess the Celestials injected planets with vibranium to see if they could host an embryo to grow a baby Celestial. And that's why the planet that the Eternals are, you know, that they discovered the Eternals on in space, it's all blown up and they're covered in vibranium because that planet couldn't handle the vibranium. Earth, it seems like it can, and it could grow an embryo, which is how Galactus is born.
Yeah. And it's Reed Richards' son?
Yes, Franklin Richards.
Yeah.
And he can't be told that or else he'll cease to be being Galactus.
Yes. I'm not sure why. I mean, I was totally lost at this point, man.
I know.
Like,
I know what you mean.
then you get this giant page with like giant Galactus and all the Celestials, and he takes his helmet off and he looks like Reed Richards, and then he leaves, and then that's the end of the book.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, and then basically the story ends with them creating these torches. They make these giant torches all over the world to burn up the gas in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're not worried about like the environmental impact of having these giant torches burning all the time, and like what that's going to do to you know, the air that they're breathing. But you know, more pressing matters at hand, I guess. And then they do that, and then let me get this straight: because they get rid of the gas, everyone turns back to normal. Is that what they're saying? Or
You know,
are people going to be the same? Is everyone just going to stay that way now, but no one else is going to get infected? Because that part confused me.
I think it's that no one else will get infected. I want to say, I could be wrong. I could be very wrong.
If that's what's going on though, and it was going to revert everybody, why not just do that instead of fighting Red Skull? Why not just build the giant torches, burn up all the gas, and then that kid will be useless. He'll just be a kid again.
Yeah, I know.
That's a little confusing to me too. So
And that's why I assumed that it would have to be the people, but they can't breed anymore, can they?
I don't think so. So it's like,
But the torches being put out means they can. Dude, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie.
And then it just ends with this big Captain America monologue about how
America.
we can do it. Yeah. Yes, we
America.
can.
You know, this is a really good looking book.
Oh man.
um,
It's just, unfortunately, you know, I think that there are probably a lot of comic fans who'd be super into this book, and I shouldn't say unfortunately. I think there's a lot of comic book fans who'd be super into this book, but unfortunately, we're not like. Well, maybe I'm not the target audience, but if you're not into it either, then it's like, oh man, well, who are they really writing this for? This convoluted mess. There's got to be someone who's super into it.
It's one of those books that I was so excited to revisit, and I'm so like sad that I've revisited it. I really wish I would have kept that nice memory I had when I was first getting into this, and like just being like, man, I want to know about this character and Captain Marvel, and that's the whole thing with Captain Marvel too. They kind of like bleed into it slowly and slowly and slowly, and then there's a revelation, and then you're like, that didn't pay off.
It didn't pay off. It was totally unnecessary, Captain Marvel's inclusion in the story, which is how most of the story is. Yeah. So it's like, how do you tighten this thing up? I would say get rid of all the Celestials, get rid of the Inhuman stuff, or maybe keep the Inhumans, but make it that like Red Skull's controlling some gas or something. Connect those two, so that there's some reason why you need to defeat Red Skull.
Because there's no reason.
Because there's no reason right now. Because as long as you stay away from him, you're okay.
Yeah.
And so what? Just turn all the gas off and then go fight him when he's a little teenager.
There you go.
But that part just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But I don't know, man. I think it missed the climax. Is the big.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because I didn't feel a climax.
It was like 5 or 6 different moments that were supposed to be the big moment, when it should have all been occurring at one time, and then. That's how you really finish off a big. When you have a huge overarching story like this, it would be like if they did the whole Marvel universe and you watched all 22 of those movies. The MCU I'm talking.
Yeah.
About. And then you get to like Infinity War, and then suddenly it's just like 8 different stories still. Like the heroes don't meet up; they're just all doing their own thing, and it's all just like a long movie.
Yeah, honestly,
it just didn't make any sense. Like.
It's like if the squid didn't happen in Watchmen, something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
or no. To be a better example, it'd be like in Watchmen if the squid did happen, but then at the same time, Dr. Manhattan traveled to Venus to fight some group of aliens, and Rorschach and Dr. Manhattan were in Russia uncovering some kind of like hidden plot from the Soviets. Like that's what it would be like.
Yeah. Essentially.
What does any of this have to do with anything else? But I did enjoy the art. I think the concepts are interesting. I think this could have been way shorter and maybe a lot. Just shortening the length of the book would have reeled it in a lot.
When I read this, and I read Universe and Paradise X after it when I was getting back into comics. And there were so many things that they were naming in the next couple of volumes that I was like, man, I want to read comics because I want to know what they're talking about. Yeah. And I've read comics and I still don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. And that's your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if I'm lost, it's not a big deal. If Brandon's lost, then we have some issues going on.
It's just not like the Iron Maiden dies, doesn't she?
Yes.
So what's the whole point of her?
To have another character in the book.
In the already overpopulated book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
it's too much.
It was frustrating, dude. It's just frustrating. And like they don't give you anything about they named the Eternals but you don't know what they look like. That's like the one characters they didn't draw into the book. So you're kind of just like, so why do they matter? Oh, real fast, we didn't touch base on it. But the people that are dead are in like the dead realm of the dead, and they don't realize they're dead.
Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I know that does pay off later on.
That's probably what's going on. And maybe we need to give them the benefit of the doubt because we haven't, read the whole trilogy. Maybe it pays off, but
yeah. I'm going to be that guy because it's me and I'm annoying and stubborn. I'm probably going to end up reading the other volumes fairly soon just because I have downtime. And because I own them, I have them all. You know what I mean?
Oh, you have downtime right now. What's going on? No, I'm just joking.
Dude. Oh, we're talking about pull list right now. I know. But you know what? Earth X, cool concept,
Yeah,
cool idea. It was just very bad writing. I'm
flawed
sorry.
execution for sure.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
just the characters. I didn't resonate with anyone. I didn't feel connected. I didn't feel compelled. I was more lost about like everyone than I was like intrigued of like the story. And the story just kept on pushing and pushing. And it's like that guy's script. Like everyone's trying to be Alan Moore. Don't try to be Alan Moore. Only
Yeah.
Alan Moore can be Alan Moore. Just don't try it. Like, and that was when I was first wanting to write, I wanted to be Alan Moore. And after my first year and a half, I was like, okay, this is dumb because if I make something this dense, it's just going to be crap. Only Alan Moore can pull this off. And this is a prime example of what happens when you try to be Alan Moore.
Well, on that note, I think we should move on.
Yes.
I don't think there's any new trailers. At least nothing I've seen. Well, unfortunately, we're not going to have a trailer for anything in a long time, man.
No, that was a great idea when we thought of it at the beginning of the year. That just crashed real fast.
Yeah, it's like, oh, our new segment's destroyed. I'll come up with another segment. That's what we'll do.
That'd be great.
And then, and now it's time for, yay, pull list.
You got to make a little song for pull list.
I should. I'll come up with a pull list theme.
That'd
come up with something.
What have you been up to?
Okay, for me, pull list.
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing still going strong, obviously.
Yes.
You can never betray Animal Crossing. I just picked up Resident Evil 3 as well, the remake.
How is it?
It's pretty fun. I mean, I've just started it, but in a way, it's like poetry. It rhymes. You know what I mean? Like Resident Evil 2, back in the day, in the 90s, the original one, Resident Evil 3 came out less than a year later. And it used the same engine and a bunch of the same assets. So the game looked the same, but it was just, a new story. And then now we had Resident Evil 2 remake. And then about a year later, we have the Resident Evil 3 remake. And it uses the same engine and everything. So it's like they still have that weird kind of connection to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to playing it because Resident Evil 2 is like a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not looking forward to running away from Nemesis over and over again. It's terrifying.
I bet.
It's always just, it's unrelenting. So, but I'm probably going to play that this week. And then the biggest thing is that for the channel coming up, we did a podcast with Franklin. We're planning on doing a World War II movie quest where we're picking our favorite World War II movies. And man, I've just been watching so many World War II.
Nice. What have you been watching?
Like, I just watched Schindler's List yesterday.
Nice.
So that was like a heavy 3 hours. You know what I mean?
Wears you out.
It really does, dude. By the end, I was just like, ugh. And then I've been watching Band of Brothers.
Yes.
I watched like 5 episodes yesterday. Literally, I just watched like 5 hours of Band of Brothers.
Nice.
It's so good.
So good. You have to watch it all. You can't just stop.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and watch some more right now. And then I think I'm finally gonna watch The Pacific. That's next on my list. I've never seen it.
That's cool. I haven't seen it either.
And I feel like most people are like that. Like everyone loves Band of Brothers, but for some reason we didn't watch the other one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to check that out. I watched Flags of Our Fathers today, which is a good one. I just got Jojo Rabbit in, so I'm going to be watching that again.
Cool.
That's a great movie.
Seen it. I want to watch it.
Oh, it's excellent. Yeah, it's excellent. And then I don't know. I have a stack. Right now. Like I need to watch Enemy at the Gates. I need to watch Saving Private Ryan again. But I mean, at this point, I've seen Saving Private Ryan.
I could just probably
times.
recite the whole movie in my head because
I was going to say,
many times.
Yeah, like I could write out the script right now. Yeah. I've seen that movie so many times. I'm excited to watch it again. It's going to be great. So that's it for me, man. What about you? You give us this big old list. I'm assuming I can feel it.
Oh no, it's not a lot. It's a lot of big stuff though. We were talking about Doom so much. I replayed Doom, or I beat it. I finally beat it.
Doom.
2016.
Doom 2016.
Yeah. And it was so much fun, dude. I would pick it up once a day for a few hours and just blast through a level or two. And it was cool. It's definitely worth playing. It's very just action oriented, which, I'm not big on that. I like the story a bit more, but it was just cool beating it, and the way it ends, I actually got Doom Eternal right after it ended.
That's nice, dude.
Yeah. And I started playing Doom Eternal and dude, this one is awesome. This
That's cool.
story wise, it's great. You start off, it's bombastic, and it's just so much more fulfilling. And I like the universe that I'm finally seeing. It gives a character backstory. It gives
Oh,
like
that's cool.
his where he comes from. It has like these like hell priests and all this cool stuff going on. And I'm really intrigued by the story. And I feel like that's what was missing from the first one completely.
I'll have to check it out because the same thing kind of happened to me with Wolfenstein, the remake they did.
Mm-hmm.
I played the first one and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then I jumped right in the second one. That was really cool. But for some reason, I didn't play the Doom reboot. And I assumed that they have to be very similar because they're by the same people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm going to go. I definitely got to check that out. I just got to clear a few more things out here.
I think it's worth it so far. And it's challenging and there's a lot going on, but it's a lot of fun.
Cool.
I'm really hyped with all the upgrades, and he has his own base in space, and it's so
awesome.
Cool. Yeah,
that's really cool. Okay.
He even has like these like guitars hanging on the wall, and they're all made of like axes and everything. It's so cool. What? Yeah. I've been reading IQ84 because it's a super long book, but I finished book 2 of it by Murakami. I've been talking about this book forever because it's so long. But I'm going to start book 3. I always take a break between books because each one is so long. I kind of want to read a bunch of stuff so I feel accomplished and I go back to it.
Yeah.
So I finished book 2, and that's why I didn't read Earth X until today. I was trying to finish book 2 of that, and I played so much Doom lately that I really haven't done anything.
That'll cut into it.
But I'll probably finish reading Earth X just to complete it. But what else have I read? I haven't touched World War Hulk because it's like the tie-ins. I'm trying to get myself to, but I also don't want to waste my time on
yeah.
I want to say that might be it. I read a couple issues of Spawn, but I'm slowly creeping through that.
Okay. Keep it going.
I'm probably going to keep reading Spawn as long as I read Doom because it's all hell-based stuff. And if I'm going to keep my interest, I got to really indulge into it.
Yeah, you got to focus in on both.
Because I can't just read Spawn. I don't know how some people can. But now that I'm on issue like 36, they are way better. Like Todd's writing is so much better and so less dense. There's stuff in the first like 20 issues. They're rough. There's just detail. Like I'm walking and I got hit. And I'm like, I know, dude. I saw the panel. Like, you don't got to tell me.
That's the point of having a comic book.
Yeah, like just rely on your art, dude. I want to say that's it. I'm on spring break finally. I'm like the only person probably on spring break right now.
Yeah.
But I get a week off, so I'm gonna just really indulge in nothingness for a bit.
Oh, that's awesome. Do that.
Yeah.
Hey, well, we got to figure out, what's coming up next on the channel. I was gonna ask you how you felt about this, but now I'm kind of I'll just ask you right now on the show. We talked about doing a Star Wars Clone Wars episode.
Yeah. I've been watching Clone Wars. I finished season 1. I'm on season 2 now.
Oh, awesome. I was going to say the new episodes are still coming out every week, and there's like 3 or 4 more. Mm-hmm. So maybe we should get together and do like an episode breakdown after the newest episode comes out. Because usually Clone Wars is like, like a closed thing anyways. It's not like it's, there's a couple times where there's an arc.
Yeah, a couple times. Yeah, not too often though.
Yeah, it gets more and more the later you go in the show, but I'm thinking this new season is going to be a little more separate. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, just something to mull over. I think that could be kind of fun though.
Or even like by the time the 4th episode comes out, we can just cover the whole season.
Yeah. Well, it's already, I think it's already 5 or 6 of the new season already out.
Oh, I thought there was 5 or 6 left of the new season.
I gotta look specifically.
I'll catch up.
But yeah.
I would love to do that. We've really loved Clone Wars so far. It's been cool because the first season you don't really have to pay attention. You just have to know like the concepts and who they're introducing.
Yeah,
a bunch of just battles and all that. So we were like building a puzzle during it and all that.
And it just gets better and better. I think the first season's the weakest season, and
the second season's like the bounty hunter season, isn't it?
That does have. I think that episode is.
Yeah. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Next episode.
Ooh, the next one coming out is this week, the 17th. And then dude, I don't know. The following episode, next week's episode, not this one, is called The Phantom Apprentice. It's just got a picture of Darth Maul on it. I feel like we need to catch up.
Yeah. I'll dive into that. I'll just have it going in the background all day. Next episode, we need to really redeem some of these Alex Ross ideas. And luckily, Mark Waid is one of the greatest writers ever.
Yeah.
So it's not.
I don't know. We might have to do something else, man. I can't do another giant universe.
Oh no,
coming together.
It's
everyone from the whole cast.
4 issues,
but it's like all of the DC universe, right? It's like everyone.
It's the Justice League.
Okay, well, I don't know. Let me start it and see what it looks like.
But it's also I'm so Ross burned painted out. All of it.
I mean, I love Alex Ross, but I'll look at his paintings. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm just burned out. I don't want to read another like 500 heroes, and then we didn't need all this. You know what I mean?
But this is.
Let me check it out.
Yeah, check it out. It's an enclosed story. It does start. It does have an end, and the ending does pay off. It's not like this open-ended giant 14 issues of insanity. This was too much.
We'll see.
I know.
I'll check it out. I'll check out issue 1. And if it's only 4 issues, then you'll know immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Be like, okay, let's read this or not. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good, inciting read. But it is a dystopian future that Alex Ross created, but it's so much. Oh my God, it's so much better than this. Just the Batman concept in general, because at least it focuses in on the Trinity. It's about Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman, and you see the other superheroes, and there's a bunch of heroes you see. A lot of similarities between this one, but it's just so much. The execution, just so much better. So much better.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. I have a bad taste in my mouth even after tearing through this today.
It's just too much.
Well, that's about it. Anything else?
Yeah, I think that's it.
No,
I'm good.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging, David.
Thank you, Brandon.
I guess.